I'd like to start off my video of talking about D'Angelo's white fragility and my reaction to this article. I felt that this was a topic that was almost talking to me on a personal level, especially the conversation between Nancy Long and Professor James in the Rightcast series. My initial thoughts of this class were that we were going to be offered a very familiar conversation about diversity and racism. I thought that the conversation would not really change my opinions. Sorry. Before this class, our discussions, our readings, I had never really taken the issue of race as a relevant topic towards me. I thought to myself, I'm not a racist. I don't consider myself superior to other races, so why are these issues relevant to me? The topic of white fragility really exposed me to obvious issues with this kind of thinking, and that brushing aside the importance of thinking about my own race and what that meant was in itself a product of white fragility. It hit me hard to realize that it is a privilege to choose to think about race as opposed to being forced to. I was never put in a situation where I had to think about what race I identified myself as, other than those pamphlets that say, are you Caucasian? And you check mark yes. But other than that, I'd like to move on to a Simpsons character called Apu that has recently come into controversy because he portrays an Indian medical student that manages a Quickie Mart, basically a 7-Eleven, and he uses a heavily exaggerated accent. He is voiced by a white man named Hank Azaria. This character is a collection of South Asian and Indian stereotypes, and was created in a time where these kinds of stereotypical portrayals were very common, especially in an American comedy show. However, these kinds of representations are harmful to South Asians, and it especially sucks because there exists very few representations in the first place. The Simpsons writers would later respond to this controversy with a scene of Lisa staring at a picture of Apu, accompanied with writing, "Don't have a cow, man." And I found this response to be extremely relevant to my personal experience with this class. I think before this class, I would have agreed with the writer's stance and argued that the new generations are far too fixated on political correctness, and that such characters are funny rather than harmful. But now I believe that these characters actually aid in racist stereotyping, and that these representations fail to do justice to racial identity development for people of color. I watched a few other response videos to this controversy, and they talked a lot about how these kinds of reactions were unwarranted, and that social justice warriors were going too far. I think these responses are very dismissive of the fact that there is a problem with characters like Apu. And I think these responses highlight more of what's discussed in white fragility. For white people, it can be discomforting to think that we aren't innocent when we write characters like Apu, or when we poke fun at Asian people who are bad at driving, because it is a kind of racial stress that we aren't used to talking about, and it's not really a discussion that we're used to having. White people are regularly put in situations where they choose to ignore race, but that's not a benefit. It's also not an excuse for these kinds of portrayals. I no longer think it's okay to remain silent on these issues, because I realize now that moving forward, I can offer a voice in the conversation. I hope to participate in more discussions about a shifting perspective and the importance of talking about white fragility and racial identity development in culture, especially in youth culture. I think that these kinds of conversations can offer a lot of needed clarity on racial issues, because now that we have definitions and ideas like this that we can add to the conversation, I think it will help a lot of people. So yeah, I'm really happy that I took this class, and that my opinions shifted a lot. Like, you can ask anyone that knows me on a personal level, like, I've changed a lot because of this class, and I'm really happy for it. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks.